Welcome to Inside Games, the only gaming news show brave enough to play Battlefield 6 before it is even out in open beta.
Yes, I'm so happy for Bruce. You got invited to the Battlefield 6 event.
I did.
And played the game for what? 4, 5, 6 hours? About how long?
Over the course of 2 days, it was about 6 hours, maybe 7 hours of it. We did some testing and stuff that you didn't actually see, but generally speaking, I got my hands on this. Also, Lawrence, I've been playing it since April in Battlefield Labs. So yeah, kind of like piecemeal. I played it like 3 hours here and 2 hours there, but it was not very much over the course of the last few months. But that's something I could say now. Before I wasn't able to say that I was playing in Battlefield Labs, and now I can.
Great. So I'm excited for it. I guess this is an official preview of the game now that Bruce has had some time on it. So I'm gonna ask him questions. The goal is to get Bruce to gush about his extensive Battlefield knowledge and the state of Battlefield 6. So in that regard, Bruce, how do you feel about Battlefield 6?
So Battlefield 6 for me, I loved it. I had a blast. I always have fun playing Battlefield. If you watch Inside Games, you know that, because I'll play any Battlefield and always have fun playing any. It didn't matter what it was. 2042 even. When it first came out, I had a blast playing it, and it was super glitchy and broken. There are lots of problems with it and lots of complaints from the Battlefield community, who is just generally a miserable bunch, Lawrence. But I do think that Battlefield 6 is so much more polished when it comes to gameplay mechanics than 2042 was in their alpha and in their beta. So that's good. It's very encouraging that what I played yesterday felt polished. Whereas 2042, it was like any number of glitches, and you're like, oh, this is like you're glitching out, broken in like halfway in a wall, when you're trying to get revived, or like, oh, like that vehicle doesn't do at all what it should do, and things, those sorts of things. Battlefield 6 does not feel like that. They have been working on it for months in Battlefield Labs. I've even noticed improvements over the course of the last few months, even graphically, which is kind of interesting. So I really do think that they have a more polished version of a better Battlefield here than they did for 2042.
Yeah, is it just a general sense? I mean, 2042, it was pretty easy to see the ways in which it wasn't polished. I mean, you would reminded me that it shipped without a scoreboard, and then I remember seeing tons of UI glitches, just elements that would get stuck or not appear correctly. Graphical glitches.
No voice chat.
You didn't see anything like that in the preview. Yeah. Typically, I don't necessarily like commenting on completeness or polish in a preview of the game because it hasn't shipped yet. But I think it's okay to call out if something's looking, well ahead of where it ought to be at this point in time. But yeah, from watching your gameplay, I don't see a single thing out of place, not a single graphical glitch or anything like that. It looks shippable now. Did you see anything that was still a little rough around the edges?
There's a couple of little things here and there. I want to say that there's one really funny glitch that you won't see very often, where you're running around and you sight up on a guy running around, and his model does this.
Okay.
So you kind of don't know where to shoot. So you just shoot in the general direction and you get him. But I saw that a couple of times as they ran by their little guys,
the one in the middle.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I was like, are they doing that, or is the game? I think the game is doing that. But in terms of visual glitches, things like that, I really didn't find many. The one thing, Lawrence, that I wanted to talk about kind of right off the bat is the ragdoll physics of this game is hilarious.
Yeah, I saw that a little bit.
There is so much weight to everything that explodes. So obviously everything makes wreckage, tanks, jets, all of it. And as soon as that stuff hits the ground or explodes or whatever, it kills you. So there was one point in my gameplay where a jet crashed directly in front of a tank. I was repairing the tank, and the wreckage of the jet hit me and killed me. And I was like, what? That doesn't even usually happen in other battlefields. I think they tried to make it work and it never did. But this was right out of the gate, just bang. And I was just dead. And I was like, damn it. I didn't realize I should have avoided that. There was another time that a jet crashed in front of me, almost same exact scenario. And the jet wreckage kind of slid underneath me and popped me up. And I was flying in the air. And I was like, okay, I don't think the game there's no way the game knows that I'm in the air because of this wreckage. And it said deploy parachute, and I was like, I don't need it. I landed and died. And I was like, I am impressed. I'm actually really impressed that the physics really make sense here and are working as intended, I think, probably. And also, another thing that's hilarious is that when you're shooting infantry, then little guys run by. They have so much momentum if you kill them. So if they're running up somewhere and then like they don't have a wall to slam into, if you shoot them, they just fly away. and like in the best way. Like it's not in like a glitchy way. It's totally in the best way. It's hilarious. So just to cover the physics of what you see in this gameplay, it's really fun, and I feel like they've centered in on something that's fun and funny, which is hard to do.
I'm really glad to hear that. I'd always thought that, ragdolling is just like a comedic tool that's been really underused. Grand Theft Auto uses it magically, but for some reason, a lot of shooters don't. Call of Duty a little bit these days, but yeah, I'm glad you brought up the physics aspect of the destruction, given that that's such a cornerstone of this battlefield. So you got taken out by like wreckage from planes. Did rubble ever fall on you, like a chunk of building? And I guess what I'm really curious about is, are there chains of physics interactions? Like a plane hits a building and then the building falls on you and then it kills you.
So great questions, because if anything, the destruction is too over the top. So that kind of stuff, it's just like it's like dominoes. Everything just goes down. And it makes for really chaotic, really fun moments that are, the only in Battlefield moments, right? Yes, I was killed by wreckage so many times. When you're inside a building and it's shaking, you got to leave. So I know that. So a lot of the times I wasn't killed because I could get out. But if you stood there and the building comes down, that's it. You're done. Like that's pretty standard from Bad Company 2 and like, the older Battlefields that nailed the destruction that for some reason they got rid of in 2042. Who knows why? But it's back. It's totally back. And people that I had talked to during the event that were also playing were like, it's almost too over the top. Sometimes like you'll just throw one little grenade into a building and the entire thing comes down. So like, which I like. I think, again, it's fun. I'm not there for esports pros. I'm just there to have a blast. So, pun intended. So that's what you do. You go in and like, there was a couple of times that I had some fantastic Battlefield moments where like I could see people shooting from windows, but I couldn't see their models. And I was like, well, what do? I have a grenade launcher. Popped it in there a couple times. The whole building came down, killed 3 people. And I was like, perfect. That's exactly what I wanted from that destruction mechanic. And I got it right away. It worked as my brain thought it would.
Oh, that's a real magic moment. I was curious how much of that would be possible. And it begs a lot of questions about cover. So I'm curious about the interactions between cover and destructibility. It seems like from what I'm seeing in the gameplay, if a building gets knocked down, that the rubble kind of has some like bumps and curves, and there's some like waist high stacks of bricks. So there's still kind of cover there. There's just not a 3-story building. Is that basically how it works?
That's exactly right. The cover works even better than it did in Battlefield 4 when the stuff would come down, because a lot of times you could find some weird holes where you'd like glitch into the walls and stuff like that. You could find that in this, but it's less pronounced, and it really does. The way you see it fall is the way you actually take the cover. So really, honestly, like it's very, very good from a video game development standpoint. It's because, again, if you're looking at it as a player and everything comes down, you can sort of use those walls that are jutting up as cover, because, again, that's the way it looks. So it's hard to I guess, describe this, because in Battlefield 4, when stuff would come down, it would show like little, like little walls tented up, right? And then you'd walk into them, you just walk right through them sometimes, or sometimes you couldn't walk right through them. So you kind of really never knew, and you'd sort of start to figure out where the glitches of the holes were. This is not like that. This truly is they have mastered the destruction here, and I'm just so glad it's back, because this was always a staple of Battlefield, and so we're getting rid of it in 2042 felt so very strange. So it is totally what you think it is, and I'm glad that it's over the top. I'm glad that buildings collapse after one tank shot or one RPG. Because it's fun, and it makes it really does make the map dynamic in lots of different ways.
Were there any like unintended or unexpected consequences of the destruction system? One that I can imagine is that you get killed by things you don't see. So like a giant rock falls off a building and just bonks you on the head, and you're looking straight ahead, so you have no idea what happened. You just die. Does stuff like that happen, or do sound cues generally keep you informed? Or I don't know. I given how chaotic the physics seems, it seems like you'd just be dying all the time because something just toppled over onto you. So I don't know if that's the case or not.
They kind of struck a balance. I don't think that like, again, I played a lot of Battlefield, so I'm not like terrible at the game, but I think they've struck a balance here where a lot of the times I would see, I mean, there's just particle effects on top of particle effects on top of particle effects if you're near a building that came down. So a lot of the stuff, the little stuff, didn't kill you, and that was glad to see that, because it's like if you know, an entire wall came down, it had sort of break into pieces like styrofoam, and then it would fall on you, and it had no effect. But there was sound cues, and I think maybe even camera shake to indicate that something bigger is coming. And like, you know, like the entire building would come down, so you knew to get out of the way if you were smart. To be like, well, no, this is going to kill me. And that's why that's why I brought up the jet example earlier, because I was like, generally, jets and helicopters and even tanks, for that matter, when tanks explode, the turret pops off like a jack in the box that goes wild, and physics are attached to that. So if you get hit with that, you're gonna die. And that wasn't the case before. So like, you really do have to keep your eye out for some big wreckage floating around. No, I did not run into that, Lawrence. I didn't run into that problem, which is good, because because destruction is so over the top.
Yeah. Over several hours of play, if it didn't become a recurring issue, then that means it sounds like it's not an issue, which is surprising. It means they did a lot of work to prevent it, I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, they really did. Yeah.
I'm curious about the one thing I noticed looking at your gameplay is that the game itself it just looks very desaturated. It's a very kind of monochrome looking game, which makes all of the video gamey elements pop really hard. You know, the objectives hovering over the icons, those like light up like a Christmas tree against all that. Was there any downside to it in the game? Did you ever feel like your eyes were craving more color? Or I don't know. I don't dislike looking at it, even though I kind of wish it were a little more vibrant. But I think that probably makes all the enemies really, really easy to see.
So this is a complaint I have seen, that the game is, like you said, desaturated, kind of gray. This kind of stuff doesn't bother me. I also have the Battlefield eyes, which sounds ridiculous because I know where to look, and I know where like when I see movement, I kind of have figured out, oh, it's going to be a guy. I kind of know where to look. A lot of people don't have that. I've noticed that when playing Battlefield, because Battlefield can be overwhelming for people who have not played a lot of Battlefield.
It is hard to see guys in Battlefield. It does take, you have to train yourself to see the motion and the shape. And I'm not good at it, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's not easy. So I will say, yes, the game itself is not as colorful as I think it could be. It does help to highlight tags and highlight spots and things like that. You hit Q to spot, and you can spot like little guys running around. Tips for people is generally look at the mini map. A lot of the times they're already lit up on the mini map, and then you sort of know where to look from there. But yes, Lawrence, it could be more colorful, and maybe they'll work on that. Graphically, it's very impressive, but it is pretty desaturated.
Okay, yeah. All I can think of. Well, I can see it being actually a help for newer players, because when an enemy is spotted and that big red diamond pops up over them, there's no mistaking it, and there's nothing in the scene that looks remotely close to that shade of red. So
that's right. Yeah,
that's all I can figure. I noticed a couple of other things that were kind of new or kind of different. It seems like when you get killed by somebody, your kill cam shows like the after image of the person that killed you at exactly the point that they killed you. So you don't get a locked-on camera showing you what they're doing after the fact. Like, you can't really scout and communicate to your team so much.
Yeah.
Is that correct, or is there some nuance to that I'm missing?
No, you're exactly right. It's like a shadow of a body and I like this because it doesn't feel like cheating. However, Lawrence, one thing that's interesting is obviously when you go down, you don't die right away. And you can sit there and hold E and wait for revive. You can spot while you're down.
Oh,
and I discovered this. Yeah, and I discovered this just happenstance. I was like, oh, I didn't realize that. So if you die and your squad is near you, I was able to spot a couple of times. I don't know if that was a glitch maybe, but I was able to just hit Q and light them up as I was there, and I wasn't dead yet. So yeah, that's an interesting thing. And yeah, before in other Battlefields, somebody killed you, then you'd see their body running, you'd see where they went and stuff for the longest time if you chose to watch the kill cam. This is different. This is more of just like, that's where they killed you, and then they disappear somewhere else. Also, getting into this mechanic of laying on the ground being dead. This is maybe my most favorite mechanic, maybe in all of Battlefield, is the drag and revive. The drag and revive is the coolest thing. It makes you feel awesome because so many times your squad dies in the middle of, crossfire, right? So then you have to run up, grab them, and then as you're reviving them, you're dragging them back. And it works like a charm. Like this mechanic worked back in April really well. And I told Lawrence about this. I was like, this is the fucking coolest thing. I think it's so, and they've been working on this for a long time. They've been trying to get in other Battlefields. And they finally nailed it in this. And I really do think that this mechanic is something that I'm so impressed that it works exactly as it should. And it makes you really feel like, again, you've got fantastic Battlefield moments from reviving your boys, Yeah,
I noticed that because it's the perfect cinematic camera. Your hand is down, so you just get this full view of the battle that you're exiting, right? But you're looking backwards as all these bullets are flying and shit's blowing up. Yeah, it's perfect. Oh, I'm really looking forward to doing the medic role or support, I guess, because of that. And I'm curious about any meta changes to like the Battlefield setup. So I'm curious with medic too, because there's what was it? I think in traditional Battlefield rules. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but if you get headshot with a sniper rifle, you cannot be revived, right? Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, that happened to me only a couple times actually. There was very specific rifles that people had to use to, and they had to nail the headshot, and that happened to me only a couple of times. It wasn't often, and we had a lot of snipers in some maps, and most of the time they either weren't hitting headshots or maybe they weren't using the right rifle. But there were a couple times I got headshotted, and it said on my screen, "You were headshot with this sniper rifle, you cannot come back."
Oh, that's great. It just straight up tells you. And also like every time you capture a point or whatever, it shows you the tickets like actively rolling down, then it says you lost X soldiers. I really appreciate some of those things of being like straight up in the middle of the monitor telling you exactly what just happened to keep you more informed about the flow of the game or certain rules, which I thought was also a very handy thing, and it's weird that Battlefield hasn't done that. But yeah, most people when they play Battlefield, they're not thinking about tickets or revives or whatever, they're just playing, big team deathmatch. So I'm wondering if those things will start to bend player behavior a little bit. Because yeah, snipers are usually useless. You get one kill, great. Oh, he's already up again. But making it so that like if you can land skill shots, you can actually pick away at the enemy ticket counter. That's pretty cool. I don't know if it like plays out well in the game. Yeah, you would kind of mention that not many people were nailing those headshots, which is that's a little comforting. Battlefield snipers can be a huge pain in the ass.
I mean, they will be as the game comes out, right? People are going to get better.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I was playing against people who hadn't played very much. Well, maybe they had. Who knows? But yes, that is something that. Thankfully, they sort of account for the fact that you got headshotted, and they're like, "You can't come back." You're like, "All right, I get it."
Yeah, were there any other mechanics to other classes that swapped around? I'm curious about recon. I'd like for that class to be more important. It is fun to kind of scout, or like laser tagging too. It seems like such a nice idea, but the fact that it takes 2 people to land 1 rocket, that isn't that great. I don't know. It never seems like it pans out correcly in the game.
No, a lot of people have made this complaint that recon doesn't feel sort of worth what you're doing right now, because the other 3 classes, assault, engineer, and support is super overpowered. Support can do everything. It could give you ammo, it could give you medic, it could give you everything, and then also you could change the weapons. So this is an important distinction for Battlefield right now. They're doing an open playlist, meaning the weapons are open to every class. Any class could choose any weapon, and they're also going to do a closed playlist where the weapons are locked to specific classes, because people have complained in past Battlefields they would lock weapons to classes so that if you liked a weapon, you had to play that class, and if you liked those gadgets, you had to stick with that. And then in 2042 they opened it all the way up. They let anybody do anything, and then it sort of got rid of a meta. And then, like, I think Lawrence, you mentioned a couple of days ago, what it did in that regard, having everything open, was that it just funneled everybody into one weapon. And you're totally right. So that's not really the way Battlefield is intended. It's intended for you to play specific classes with specific weapons. So they're going to do both playlists, and then they're going to test and find out what people actually want. So it'll be really curious to see. So that said, Recon, it doesn't necessarily feel like the greatest class right now, because you got a sniper rifle probably you're helping the team, which a lot of people do not want to do. I love helping the team, but a lot of people just want to go out and kill. So they're probably not going to play recon, and then they're probably going to land on support because you get a ton of points to drop crates, kill people with the weapon you chose, heal, res, do all that stuff. Support right now I think feels very overpowered. However, assault is great because assault gives you 2 primaries. It gives you an assault rifle or whatever you choose, basically, and then also you have a shotgun and a pistol. So you really, truly are just brutal when you go out there. And people were saying how the shotgun's overpowered. It's very overpowered. I played a lot of the shotgun, and that's what people ended up landing on, is that shotgun was just, a lot of the times, a one-hit kill, and that was it. And you had a blast doing it. So they're going to nerf that, for sure. They're going to nerf the shotgun and the assault class. They're probably going to nerf support as well. Probably going to make it so that they sort of spread out the fact that you could drop ammo or health depending on customizing your kit. And then maybe they'll beef up recon a little bit so that people will move over to recon. Because it didn't seem like a lot of people were playing recon. Engineer, you really had to play if you were going to be on a tank. If you're going to be in a tank or on a tank. And I saw a lot of people doing that correctly at this event, which is good, because a lot of times you had a tank roll up with 2 people behind him with repair torches, and that's the way Battlefield should be, right? That's the engineer should. You've got the RPG, you've got the surface-to-air missile, and you also got the repair torch. So you are focusing on armor. So I think they're like zeroing in on what Battlefields were in the past, but it's still a little more open than it used to be.
Well, it seems like that's kind of why I'm curious about recon, because it seems like everybody gets a little lift based on the circumstances of Battlefield 6. Engineer, yeah, it's anti-tank, but now it's also anti-building, or anti-cover, really. And I think Assault also gets a deployable shield, which I feel like has more value now, given that cover can be destroyed. Yeah, here's recon, I guess, with the same kit, and not necessarily, seemingly without a benefit that helps it in this destructive environment. I'm not sure what that would be, but yeah, I was kind of hoping that it would get some cool new little tool, something a little more profound than just like a motion sensor, because I think that's in there, or a motion mine or whatever it was. Yeah, I'm kind of into the meta game of Battlefield. I do like the soft class system that it has. I don't know. I like it when there's a squad and people have roles versus just 4 killers that run out there and murder and are just kind of loosely grouped because they're in a squad in the game.
I agree. And Battlefield is that way, and has always been that way. And 2042 sort of changed that, and a lot of people complained about it. I learned I would just play my role anyways because I like playing my role, and I like playing the PTFO, they call it, play the fucking objective. I love doing that. That's why I love Battlefield. But a lot of people don't do that. So I would rather that Battlefield forces people to play the fucking objective, because that's what the game is. It's not COD. It's Battlefield, and you're supposed to play specific roles and run out as a squad, and there is no better feeling than your squad running out with specific roles and fulfilling those roles and taking flags and winning the match. There really isn't. Like, for me, it's a very teamwork heavy game, and it has been for a long time. So I'm glad that they're like sort of making their way back to it.
All right, I guess my final question is kind of on the topmost layer of the game itself. The maps and the game types. It all seems very standard Battlefield from what I saw. Were there any tweaks to the rule sets or the maps or anything like that you noticed?
No, this is a return to form for Battlefield 3 and 4. One of the developers, David Sirlin, who I've spoken to at length about Battlefield, he worked on those games. He also worked, I think, a little bit on Battlefield 1. And I've been telling people that this is a combination of 3 and 4 with Battlefield 1. So the immersion of Battlefield 1, along with the all the weapons and the mechanics of Battlefield 3 and 4. And if you don't know anything about that, then just know that this is so much more immersive than 2042 ever was. And this really does feel like we're coming back to what made Battlefield special. And all the things that I just described about playing the objective and having teammates in these awesome Battlefield moments, they're coming back. They're coming back after 2042, because 2042, a lot of people have said that 2042 was meant to be a battle royale, and then they sort of changed it at the last second, and that's why it was all sort of wonky and weird. Who knows? I don't actually know if that's true or not. But you could tell the development of that game wasn't necessarily the smoothest, whereas this one really has been focused. And Battlefield Labs allowed them to focus on making this game what they want to make it and what the players want too. So they're doing both, right? They're listening to the players, but they're also trying to execute on their vision. And I think we're coming back, Lawrence. I think Battlefield 6 might be a return to form here.
You think we're back? You think we're so fucking back?
I'm not sure that we're so fucking back. Okay, we won't know until the open beta, because the open beta. I've been saying this too. The open beta is a real test of their network, right? Like a lot of the times, Battlefield looks great because, well, what 300 of us were playing, whatever. Who cares? We need 30,000 connected to their servers and matchmaking and seeing if all that stuff works out. And that's what the open beta weekends are for. So I'm saying to people, give them a second. If things start crashing or if servers are having trouble, that's what the open beta weekends are for. That's just to stress test what they've got. So we'll see if we get, Giraffe Man and, Rubbernecks and like network tests and people, teleporting all over the place when we have more people playing Battlefield next week. That's going to be the real test. And I tell you what, if they nail those open beta weekends, if they really, I want to say they've got a hit on their hands, because then at that point, I know the game works game mechanics wise. And then if they can make it work network test wise, we're good to go.
That's exciting to see. I'm just curious if even a well-made game with proper support can punch through and find success in this day and age. But that's out of everyone's hands. I guess at least it seems like EA and DICE and all the related studios are trying to do it the right way this time.
They are. They've spent a lot of money. I mean, the rumors are what, $400 million or whatever for the budget of this game. So like they are going to be in the hole a lot if this game does not sell. And like I said before, the actual Battlefield fans on the subreddit and stuff like that are just miserable, Lawrence. They are looking for any issue. Everyone's screaming about no pre-orders, which is totally fine. Don't pre-order if you don't want to pre-order. But everyone wants to hate this game as much as they possibly can, and I'm trying to say, hey, go in with an open mind. Go in with an open mind. It's not. This isn't 2042. This is not a change to what you love. It is going back to what you remember and making it a little more modern. And so I had a blast. I'm usually the wrong person to ask about Battlefield because I love Battlefield and I've loved it for 20, 25 years, whatever it's been. But I really do think that they are that people are sort of starting to come around on this.
That's cool. Yeah, it looks great to me. So and you've made me even more excited. All that explosion stuff. Ugh.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome.
I can't wait. Yeah, so let's see here. It looks like the Battlefield Labs members get access to the open beta August 7th through 8th. And then there's 2 open beta weekends, one August 9th and 10th, and then another August 14th through 17th. Tragically, I think I'm going to be traveling through all of those dates. But hey, that's fine. I can wait. I'll just be behind the 8 ball when the game comes out. There's already going to be pros circling the block looking for fresh meat, and I'll be that willingly, I guess.
Lawrence, I got you. I'm gonna be dragging you out of the shit every time, reviving you, and you come right back. And we're gonna be playing a lot of Battlefield. I can't wait.
I can't wait either. Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts, Bruce. I guess thanks EA for inviting Bruce to the event. I'm glad you got to go. It's a long time coming. Disclosure,
Lawrence, they paid me. They gave me money for food because we were at this event for 3 days, almost 4. They gave me a hotel near the event, which I didn't use very often, but just in case. And I also had Uber vouchers to get to the event. Very important. And they also gave me, Lawrence, a thermos that looks like
that's really cute,
like a tank shell.
Oh.
They gave me this, and they gave me a shirt and a hat and a few other things. So those are the disclosure. I wanted to make sure that they didn't pay me to play this game. They gave me those things to be at their event and stream from their event. But they didn't actually pay me. And I'm kind of sad about that.
They should have at least refunded your purchase price of $2042.
I mean, they should do that for everybody, probably, right?